Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect.
There are many demons, but there's only one.
Electro-demon.
It's a war zone down here. 1085 dispatcher, need additional units. Additional units now. Officer in danger. Officer in danger.
10-5, please repeat. 10-5, all units, emergency. Officer in danger, Acer Plaza, repeat. Acer Plaza, all units.
They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark to everything that had led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger, and then it was over.
Max Payne is an action-adventure game that came out in 2001 for the PC and later consoles. It's one of the best shooters I've ever played. Stick with this review to find out more. You play as Max Payne, an NYPD cop who comes home only to find his wife and child murdered by drug addicts, high on a designer drug called Valkyr. After burying his wife and child, he transfers to the DEA and works hard to find out the truth behind the murder of his wife and child. Max goes undercover with his partner who gets killed, and Max gets framed for the murder. He's then on a path of revenge. That's as much as I'm comfortable talking about the story without treading into spoiler territory. It's an amazing story and it has a couple of twists. It's well written. The story is presented to you via on-screen comic book style cutscenes with voice acting. I like this way of storytelling, and the talent behind voice actors is pretty awesome, and the delivery is on point.
D7 and D6's old test facility to wait for proper processing.
I was close enough to hear the secrets, just beyond the next doorway.
Let's talk about the gameplay. Max Payne is one of the most innovative shooters of its era. In 2001, this was a technical achievement, backed by innovative gameplay. You control Max from the third perspective. The defining feature of Max Payne is bullet time mechanic. Basically, you can slow down time, which aids you in dispatching enemies. There's the basic button for slowing down time, and there's the shoot dodge option. At first, I ignored the shoot dodge mechanic and purely used the button for slowing down time. But I was getting my ass handed down to me, and then I rediscovered the shoot dodge. It's jumping to any side and slowing down time combined into one. It's when you properly learn to use this shoot dodge mechanic, you'll get good in the game. But don't think just because you can slow down time that you're invincible. Far from it. Slowing down time in Max Payne means that your character also moves and fires slowly, unlike its sequel, Max Payne 2. Bullet time is a tool and not a win button, if you understand what I'm talking about. It feels extremely satisfying jumping into a room and popping headshots under bullet time. Honestly, this is the best slow-mo implementation in a game that I've ever seen. You carry a wide arsenal of guns, from pistols, Uzi, machine guns, shotguns, and plenty more. Some weapons can even be dual-wielded, like dual pistols and dual Uzis, which just brings the level of carnage through the roof. The game even has boss fights, which are kinda silly, but alright. A boss is also a human enemy, but for some reason he's able to absorb more bullets than the regular grunts. Somehow this feels out of place. Enemies pose a fair challenge. There's regular mobsters, armed forces carrying bulletproof vests, etc. They can come at you in numbers, and you can die pretty quick if you don't know what you're doing. Health can be replenished by using painkillers found in medicine cabinets or sometimes even dropped by enemies. You can carry a maximum of 8 painkillers, which should be enough to get you out of a tough spot. Keep in mind that a painkiller doesn't restore your health fully, so if you're low on health, you'll have to use a couple. Levels are interesting. They're all indoors, for the most part. It's a game in New York, so expect office buildings, garages, casinos, boats even, restaurants, etc. They're all well designed and interesting to play, for the most part. You'll go on killing hundreds and hundreds of dudes with an occasional press a switch here and there. There are no puzzles in Max Payne, maybe the last boss fight, but I can hardly call that a puzzle. And the game doesn't need puzzles, since this is an action game. The pacing is relentless, and it seems to never slow down, resulting in sometimes me feeling tired after playing about an hour. but the game has the perfect length for a game of this type. It took me about 7 hours to beat the game on the standard difficulty. The soundtrack is also quite good, especially the main theme, which is dark and sad at the same time. Max Payne had insane graphics at the time of its release. It was praised as a technical achievement. I remember seeing it at my friend's house and I was blown away by the graphics. It had awesome explosion effects, crisp textures, and it was a bitch to run. Nowadays it's hard for me to talk about the graphics because the industry has come a long way forward. Seeing Max's digitized face is laughable now, but back then this tech was pretty new and it was mind-blowing to see this. Getting this running on Windows 10 is a nightmare. Seriously. This is a game made for Windows 98 and XP. On those operating systems you'll have no problems. On Windows 10 I struggled to even install the game, because the installer was so old. When you get past that hurdle there's plenty more. Audio not working properly, not being able to launch the game, crashing, and plenty more issues. There are various fixes available, and I'll put a link if you're interested in playing Max Payne on modern operating systems. There's even a specific bug related to Ryzen 3000 series CPUs, but there's also a fix for that. This is not a game's fault, obviously. When you finally get it working properly with a widescreen patch, it's a breeze to play. No crashing and no game-breaking bugs. If you never played Max Payne, I highly suggest that you do. It's one of the most legendary third-person action games ever made, and it definitely is worth its asking price. You can get it on Steam for less than $5, and it's well worth that price tag. If I had to give a score to this game, I'd give it 9.5 out of 10.